Hello and welcome to another episode of Connecting the Dollars. Today, our topic is when to get some help from a financial professional. I came across this article in Kiplinger Personal Finance where they asked a few different financial advisors when someone should get help from a financial professional. So many of them said when facing a major life event like expecting your first child or planning for retirement. So we're going to go through some of those and also add our own take on things. So my name is Emily Agosto. I'm a CPA and financial advisor at Propel Financial Advisors, and Amanda Vaught is with me. She is an attorney and financial advisor at Propel as well.
Hey, Emily.
So let's get into this.
Yes, let's.
The first thing on this
Yeah,
list
go ahead.
is, if you were did you have anything else you wanted to add before we jump in?
I have lots of things to add, but why don't you go ahead and say that? What's a major reason? I think it's pretty obvious, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are obvious times when it makes
Like your
sense.
circumstances change.
Right. Basically, anytime.
Yeah.
Something like you get a raise, you get a new job. So things that happen regularly. And so this is specifically about financial advisor, but we could also add like tax professional and accountant to that list as well, because a lot of these things go hand in hand, or even
hmm
attorney.
Yeah.
Let's
I do
see.
think that's the one question is this thing happened. Do I need an accountant? Do I need a financial advisor? Do I need an attorney? Do I need all three? I think some
Mhm.
people aren't clear on who does what. You
That's a
know,
very good point.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Um, and there's also some crossover, like I'm an attorney, but I'm also a financial advisor. You're a CPA and also a financial advisor. So there are some professionals that are kind of hybrids
Yeah.
between different fields.
Yes.
So,
And a lot of people know a lot of things, but it's always good to check to get a second opinion sometimes. Like we're always telling people, check with your so and so. Like,
yeah,
here's our part, and then talk to an expert who's an expert in that part.
yeah,
For example, like estate planning is one that's on the list. And there's absolutely financial and tax implications, but that is also a big legal area.
yeah, for sure. I think typically, right, when you need to update your estate plan or create one for the first time, a lot of times it's around having children,
Mhm.
right? But it can also be you receive a inheritance. It could be when you get married or divorced. There's all kinds of reasons you can update your estate plan. You know, I think it's good to do hand in hand with a financial advisor and an attorney,
Mhm.
um, or or a tax person, because some attorneys just don't know tax and they can do estate planning and kind of a tax vacuum. And
Yeah.
a lot of these decisions can impact your taxes at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
So,
especially like inheriting a home, transferring ownership of large assets definitely will have an impact. What else is on the list? So we had retiring for or planning for retirement. Uh,
yes. Well, do you want to discuss planning for retirement a little bit?
sure. Yeah, this is a big one. Whether you can plan for retiring, maybe you are not necessarily going to do that in your 20s, but sure, start in your
hmm
30s, 40s,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, and even if you're close to retirement and you don't have a financial professional, you can still talk to one about how you're going to start taking money out to use it. There's lots of different strategies there that will affect mostly your taxes.
hmm
Yeah, and strategies involving Social Security and whatnot.
Yeah. I do think a lot of people plan for retirement by themselves, right?
Mhm.
So it's just by necessity. You have to start thinking about you start a job, your employer's like, do you want a 401k? Well, that's planning for retirement, right? At a most basic
Sure.
level. Um, and so when do you take that from doing it yourself to hiring a professional? I mean, that's when it's, I don't know, don't want to say it's complicated, but it's personal, right? Some
Right.
people know they want help and need help. Some people feel confident they can do it themselves.
Mhm.
And sometimes that confidence is in overconfidence,
Sure
that you
can
really
be.
can't. Right, exactly.
Yeah. Um, I was thinking earlier, like, there's so many things that, we have demanding careers. You have children, I have band practice, whatnot. And like we have things that take our time and we prioritize them. So if you think about it, like all the other things you can outsource, like a cleaning person, or maybe you order your groceries through Instacart or something like that, the things that you are willing to pay a premium for to make your life easier
Yeah.
kind of works in the same way. Like you're you're good at your job and you're not a financial professional, and that's fine. So that's why we're here to offload some of those more difficult decisions for you,
Yeah.
or at least
Yeah.
help you make the decision.
Yes. Or I like to think of explaining the consequences of your decisions as well, because
That's good.
I think it's not our job to tell people how to spend their money, but to say, oh, if you spend your money this way, this will be the result. Like if you spend
Exactly.
money on buying a house, then you're not going to have enough in your retirement, for example. Um, if you cash out your retirement fund to buy a boat, then this will happen. That kind of thing. It's not like don't buy the boat.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
um, exactly. But I think the thing in the Kiplinger article that they mentioned, planning for retirement, that's
Mhm.
something everybody is doing, right? What's the impetus that gets them from doing that to getting to the professional? Um, and I think one thing that wasn't discussed in the article is that you have to be ready, like you said, to outsource it, to be able to let somebody else make those decisions for you, or not make the decision, but guide those
Right.
decisions. And you have
Mhm.
to be able to respect the professional's view and take on it and realize that they're a professional in this field and there's a reason they're a professional and
Right.
you're not, that they might know more than you.
Right.
And I think a lot of people can struggle with that. And it's not just um, that, but it's like maybe, they grew up listening, their parents told them to do it one way. And what their
Mhm.
parents are doing maybe serve their parents, but maybe that approach doesn't serve you. Or maybe
Right.
what your golf buddy is doing is not what's right for you. Maybe what
Yeah.
your mortgage broker is telling you can afford this house, or your real estate broker is telling you can afford this house, they don't know you or your whole financial picture. So
Right.
I think that is a really big, important thing that is not discussed. It's not just the life event, it's the life event plus the willingness or the realization that you need somebody else to provide you with guidance here.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. We like to focus on financial planning, and it's not just a one-off thing. It's this relationship you develop and you trust your advisor so that when you look at the whole picture, everything kind of falls into place.
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
just kind of looking at one decision in a vacuum,
Yeah,
it may work
exactly.
out fine, but it
Yeah.
could be better if you look at everything together.
Yeah. And I think that comes up in the tax context as well, right? It's like, what tax bracket am I in? Well, who care? Why do you care, right? It's like these one-off questions are one thing, but let's look at the context. Let's look at your whole tax picture. Do
Mhm.
you understand what it means to shift a tax bracket? How is that going to impact, this deduction versus this tax credit versus maybe if you're a retired person, it could impact your Medicare charges. I mean, there's so many
Absolutely.
questions. And so it's not just what tax bracket am I in or how can I get the most deductions? It's looking at the whole picture. Um,
Yep. And there's so many rules that change all the time. So like maybe
right.
something you heard a few years ago and you just assume is still the case has actually
Yeah.
changed. And yeah, it can, I mean, this is what we keep up with. This is what I do my continuing professional education for. Um,
Yeah,
You don't
and
have to cloud your
Wes,
mind with that stuff.
I know CPAs have to do an insane amount of continuing education. I can hardly believe it. But
It's a lot,
um,
but it's good.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, in tax, you get people coming to you saying like, how do I maximize my deductions? Well, that's not like a thing like it was
Hmm.
before.
In the last few years, yeah.
That's you're asking the wrong question. And so you can't necessarily don't say that to clients. They're always it's part of it is education.
Yeah,
Why is that a concern to you? How can I help you? Maybe deductions shouldn't be what you're focused on. Maybe it should be focused on something else and
hmm,
guiding people into that and then leading them to better financial outcomes, better tax outcomes, whatever the case is that they need help with. Um,
exactly.
and trusting that they know that instead of being like, well, my tax person doesn't give me the most deductions. Um, because I'll tell you, the tax person that advertises getting you the most deductions is not,
Watch out.
yeah, exactly, watch out. Watch out. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, so I do think that having this conversation requires a lot of trust
Hmm.
and your financial professional to put that trust in them,
Right.
because your investments, your money, this is your livelihood, right? This is what provides for your children. There's so much emotion wrapped up in that, and it is hard to
Right.
put that trust in somebody. Like I don't take it lightly. I'm not saying you just have to do it. Um,
Right.
but recognizing that that's the relationship that's going to help you the most to be
Hmm.
able to put that trust in them, that's the key part, I think, of having a great financial outcome.
Agreed.
It's not just, oh, I need to plan for retirement, add X and Y and Z numbers together and we'll get there. It just goes so much deeper than that.
Right. And in a recent episode, we talked all about fraud and the importance of getting second opinions. So we're not saying to not be skeptical of, maybe someone
Yeah,
telling you certain advice, but, just do your due diligence. Um, like check the people out on FINRA. We talked about this in the other episode. We'll link it
yeah,
again.
yeah,
And certain questions to ask of a financial advisor because it is it's, your whole financial life in one person, not one person's hands, but in a team of people that
hopefully, yeah.
hopefully you will be able to trust and work
Yeah,
with.
yeah. And I know good financial advisors who are solo, so I'm not saying that that could be bad, but the
Sure. Yeah,
team could be them plus a great accountant. It could be them plus a great attorney. It depends on what the person might need. But
exactly. Yeah.
what is, I
So,
think one more thing we wanted to touch on, right, was people who currently are using a financial advisor. Um, or
yeah.
currently using a tax professional that they maybe are having issues trusting or maybe aren't
Mhm.
happy with the service.
Yeah.
You run across those people a fair amount, right, Emily? Um,
Yes.
do you want to talk about it from the tax perspective? Because I think we're at coming up year end, and if there
Hmm.
is a question about your tax person, um, people want to wait until February, March to try to find a new tax professional.
Yeah, now so we're recording this on November 1st, but now's a great time to decide if you want to use the same tax professional you used last year or find someone new or start using a tax professional. Personally, for my business, I don't really take new clients after like I want to say December, but it's usually more like January.
Yeah.
And that's not that I won't take them, but I won't, we can't guarantee that we'll file you by April 15th. You may be an extension. So we would
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
try to get you an estimate if you owe anything. But
I think
if you wanted
like
to
what you
interview one,
oh, go ahead, sorry.
yeah, no, it's fine. If you wanted to
But that
start interviewing them, do it now.
yes, yes.
Go ahead.
But things like that, like your policies and how they might affect you, is good to know in advance. Because
Yeah.
if this is your policy and you talk to Emily in February, or you talk to me if I do tax as well,
Mhm.
but that's going to impact you maybe significantly. And I think just like recognizing that tax people get very busy in February and March, and they're not going to have the time to devote to your case
Right.
necessarily, that because other people have come in before you, and you want to get the best outcome for your tax return that you can, right?
Right.
And so one thing you
Yeah.
can do is start looking out if you are interested in switching or starting with a professional. Um, and I think that leads into in tax and in financial advising is you have to recognize that this is your tax situation. The onus is really on you, the person,
Mhm.
not on the professional, right?
Right.
Like we can't make you do anything. At the end of the day, that you have to do it. And if you mess something up or don't take our advice, we can't necessarily help you, right? It's not, I mean, maybe that's too strong.
Yeah,
But
it
we're
depends
not the
on the
Jedi.
issue.
Yeah, it depends on the issue, but it's so much easier to do the right thing in advance than try to fix something after the fact,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Like
And
so, yeah.
if there is some reason you need your tax return done on time, whether you have like you're trying to buy a house or you need it for some reason, like, and you find someone who will do it, they're probably going to charge you extra. So if you can plan a little bit in advance, it will also save you some money
Yeah. Yeah,
potentially.
exactly. Um, I don't know. These are things that people struggle with. And honestly, I struggle with it too. Like doing
Yeah.
things in advance. It's hard. So,
Hmm.
um, but I think it's good. Think about it. Maybe you're listening to this and be like, okay, do it
This
before that.
weekend, I'm
Think
going to
about
jump
it
on it.
before that you get into the holidays, you get busy, and then the
Yeah.
year's over before you know it. It's important.
Yes.
Um, and then the other thing is, on the financial advising side, there are people, we talk to people who have a current advisor, or current broker, I'll say typically is the case, who maybe is investing their accounts. They don't understand what's happening in their investments. The broker doesn't understand taxes. They're getting a large tax bill from their investment account. These kinds of things we see, and people recognize that there's an issue there, but then they still don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Not that they
And
don't want to do anything about it, but it's difficult to take action in that situation. It's like an inertia.
yeah, so we've moved from like when to get help from a financial professional to like how to switch financial
Yes,
professionals if it's
yes,
not serving
yes.
you. Yeah, and that's a difficult thing to do. Like nobody likes to fire anyone in any context. It can be difficult, but you got to put yourself first in this situation. It's your money, it's not them. They're typically making money off of you. So it's a big decision and you have the power in that decision making process. And you don't owe them anything, you don't owe us anything. But the more you put in thought wise and, giving us or your financial professional the information and
Hmm.
sharing all your goals, the more you'll get out of it. So it's finding the right person and trusting them again.
Yes, yes. Very true. And if you are working with a current financial professional and you're questioning what they're doing, you should be able to ask them those questions, and
Right.
then they should give you an answer that you're able to understand. I think
Yes.
that's something that we run into with financial professionals. We start talking in jargon and they make themselves sound really smart, or they know of something more than you. Um, eh, that shouldn't be that way. They should be able to explain it to you and explain to you clearly. And if you're not happy with the answer, that means there's so many people out there, right, who can help you and help you
Mhm.
well. So, um,
And they should be accessible. If you can't get a meeting with them, that's another red flag.
yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true. I know.
They shouldn't be
Um,
ignoring you.
yes.
But anyway, I think we got through a lot. Do you
Yes,
have
I
anything
know.
else you want to
So I
add?
think we didn't, I mean, I feel like there's life events when you need the financial advisor. Um, but it's really much more than that. It's just
Yes.
more than a life event, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely. So we will link all those articles we mentioned throughout this podcast in our show notes. Um, Nothing we said today should be taken as legal, tax, or investment advice. This podcast is for entertainment and education purposes only. You can contact us at info@connectingthedollars.com. You can like and subscribe if you're watching to this on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on a podcast app, please subscribe there. Leave us a comment if you would like to. We would love to hear from you anytime. Any final thoughts, Amanda?
yeah, no,
We've said a lot. We went through a lot today, a lot of good information. So if you want any more information, I've told you where to find us. Contact us anytime, and we'll talk to you soon.
bye.
Bye.